Ooh, welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy, do I have a surprise for all of you. I have on Zoom with me right now Cody Willis, if I pronounced that correctly.
You
And
did?
awesome, and he is a writer for Morbidly Beautiful, and we're about to find out all about Morbidly Beautiful and what it takes to be a writer for them. So, how you doing, Cody?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So glad to have you on. I know when I first booked this, you were really excited. You said you're a big fan of mine, and I'm so glad
Yeah,
that we can make this happen.
absolutely, man. Me too.
Yes, absolutely. So the first question I got for you, how did you get how did you get your start into writing for horror websites?
Yeah, so my writing history goes back to when I was like 12 years old.
Okay.
Um, Always wanted to write horror. But I knew that while I was writing novels or scripts or whatever, I needed something to
Mhm.
kind of do to hone my craft in that meantime.
Right.
And one of those was I was a big fan of the website Dread Central.
Hmm.
And I reached out on like a total, you know, not knowing if I'd ever even get a response. But I
Mm-hmm.
reached out to Steve Barton, known as Uncle Creepy, and he was the owner of that website and the creator. And I was like, I kind of want to be a better writer, and I kind of want to get better at this. And I was wondering if I could maybe do some writing for you. And he was very responsive. I heard back a day or two later and started writing for them. I did a couple of interviews. The one that I was most proud of was when I interviewed Tony Todd.
Oh,
That was the
nice.
that was a big deal for me because I had contacted Tony through like social media.
Hmm.
And that is where I really didn't expect to hear a response. He's a very busy person.
Yeah.
And I heard back within a week, and he was like, I'd love to do it. And I got a call out of the blue one day, and that iconic voice of his, "Hey, Cody, this is Tony Todd. How you doing?" I'm like, "Oh my God!" Like, but that was amazing, and that's kind of where I got my start was writing for Dread Central for a while.
That's awesome. Yeah, Tony Todd. I mean, a lot of people know him from Final Destination, but he is the Candyman, of course. Like,
Always.
how can, like, yeah, it was, first of all, he was Candyman before Final Destination. Seeing him in Final
Right.
Destination, what just made that movie so much cooler.
It was, yeah. Like I loved him as William Bloodworth. I mean, if
Yeah.
there is not a role that his voice and intimidation and presence is for, it's to be a mortician.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it definitely was Candyman for me. You
Yeah.
know, that role. I mean, it's still. I actually recently showed it to my girlfriend. I showed her some
Nice.
clips from the original for the first time, and she was just like, "Wow, what? Like this is amazing!" So
Yeah.
definitely incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because just his presence alone, like a lot of people, when you just look at them and hear them talk, you
Hmm.
immediately get intimidated, and he's one of them people that intimidates you.
Absolutely. But I heard he's just like the nicest person
Yeah,
when you meet him. And then, but like for him to take time out of his really busy day to talk to
yeah,
me for a little bit, that blew my
yeah.
mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the same thing with interviewing any interview with anybody. Like even if they were in an 80s film, like they might not be filming even actively anymore or doing conventions on the regular, but the fact that they
Hmm.
take time out of your schedule to do an interview to discuss a movie that was popular and big, 40 years ago and is still going
Yeah.
on today is
Yeah.
amazing.
It's truly incredible to see that. And I love that because that really shows how much they appreciate the people that got them. And I
Yeah,
think that's really incredible. Yeah,
absolutely.
for
Like,
sure. For
yep.
sure.
Yeah, I had Terry McMinn on earlier today. She was my first
Hmm.
interview today, and from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and she it took her 35 years just to she told me this to get comfortable with watching the movie and her scenes because she thought she did a really bad job and all that. Like she did amazing, but she didn't realize how big it was back then, but how 35 years later and counting, probably more than that now, and it's the
Hmm.
fact that it's still a big cult classic, and there's a lot of movies
Absolutely.
like that. And the fact that celebrities take their time out to show their fans, and I mean, we don't make much money from these podcasts, if anything at all, and the fact that we, we do it because it's like nostalgia factors. Like, you know, I'm a
Absolutely.
fan. I love the movies and I love hearing about it. I don't care
Mhm.
about the money. I care about talking to this, you know, these people about this stuff.
Right. And it's just a genuine like conversation when you can be that
Hmm.
fan and
Yeah.
still have like a legit conversation. That's how it was with Tony. It was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I'm a super fanboy for sure, but it was really difficult to keep my composure when it's
Hmm.
someone that you've really admired forever.
Yeah.
But it was so worth it just to have
Yeah.
him chat for a bit. Amazing.
Absolutely. I remember my first interviews. I go back and watch them. I cringe so hard. The audio was shitty. The video was, or I didn't even do videos back then, but the audio was shitty as hell. And
Uh-huh.
the fact that like you listen to me talking to them and I have that echo in the background from that studio apartment I used to live in, and you know, and just the fact that like I'm kissing their ass like they're freaking God or something. It's like
Yeah,
I'm thinking, geez, what was I thinking?
That's what it was like. I went back and I listened to the audio recording with Tony, and I'm just like, God, I really hope like I didn't just ruin any future I might have had as a writer doing interviews. But looking back now, I think I've improved a lot, but I look back fondly now, learning from that. But it was awesome,
Yeah.
regardless.
And everybody like starts somewhere, you know, looking back at your first interviews and adding it to the, you know, most recent interviews, you know, that you've done, like you can always see the difference. You know, just from your equipment alone, your audio gets better. If you add
Oh
video, you
yeah,
have a good video, you know, a good camera, and you just, you know what questions to ask, you know, how to like kind of pace the interview. Like there's things you learn
yeah,
that you just learn as you go.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way you can do it, and I think it's the
Yeah.
best way to do it is trial and error.
Absolutely. So, how did you get the job to write for Morbidly Beautiful, and what is Morbidly Beautiful to begin with?
So Morbidly Beautiful is a horror site. They do reviews, they do interviews, articles, everything. And I just sort of like was in this. Uh, I guess it's been, I guess in the last 2 months is when I started
Okay.
writing for them. I was just looking to flex that interview muscle again because I hadn't
Hmm.
done it in a while. And now, I mean, like this, beside the stuff that I had done for Dread Central, I have interviewed a lot, as weird as this sounds, a lot of cast members from Power Rangers.
Okay.
And I had like uh kind of gotten off that to focus on my own stories and what I was trying to do and get
Hmm.
projects lined up. And I was just like, well, I need to try this again. And I decided to just contact some of the people of sites that I already admired.
Hmm.
And I didn't hear back from a few of them, but I was very fortunate to hear back from Stephanie Malone, who
Nice.
is the editor in chief of Morbidly Beautiful. And
Okay.
she was, very eager and positive in giving me a chance. And I had the options of like, I could do like have assignments like from Morbidly Beautiful to do an article or interview, whatever, but I kind of already had several ideas in mind, and one of those was to interview a YouTube, a horror YouTuber named Dr. Wolfula,
Okay.
and I think he's incredible, and I think he's incredibly underrated.
Hmm.
Because like when you think of horror YouTubers, you think of like James Janice from Dead
Yeah.
Meat and
Yeah.
things like that. But and those are amazing. But I like the underdog channels. And
Yeah.
Dr. Wolfula is the brainchild of this guy named Sid McClanahan. And he dresses up as a werewolf in a cloak with a pair of aviators on with one lens missing. And I'm just like, I gotta watch this guy.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I've reached out to him on YouTube, and he responded within like 10 minutes and
Nice.
accepted the interview. And I did it with him, and that was my first piece published with them. It just got published a couple weeks ago, so I'm working on a few more now.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, it's really incredible. But I urge anyone to check out Morbidly Beautiful because
Yeah.
it's up there among the best sites you can check out.
Absolutely. And I know I interviewed James Janice already. Great guy. He really is. And maybe even after this interview, we could talk you know, on Messenger again, and you can get me you know, Dr. Wolfula's information even. I would love to have him on the show and all
Totally,
that. Yeah, that would be great.
absolutely. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I love giving anybody exposures. Like, I don't mind. I could have the A-list stars and I can have the indie actors that not many people heard of to give them exposure. I believe in that, and I believe that everybody deserves to be exposure. It's not all about the views and all about the ratings and all that stuff. It's always about getting people out there.
For sure. That's what drew me to your show in the first place, is because I found out about you through your promotion of stuff like the Sawyer Massacre. And through Steve Merlo, the writer and director of that film. And I was very fortunate to be a props master for that film. And
Nice.
I started watching your videos, and I just thought you were incredible. And I think you're a really great voice for particularly indie horror. I think you're incredible, man.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it. Yeah, I love helping out, as much as I can, because I believe that, where would I be if I didn't get my start with people interviewing me, or people doing interviews with me? Like, oh, you're really a nobody or whatever. Whereas, like, I believe everybody deserves to have that voice. Like, if like Steve Merlo might reach, for the Sawyer Massacre might reach, God knows how many people, a lot of people, but there might be a couple of people that are in my viewership that maybe that don't know about the Sawyer Massacre, and it brings people of everybody of my demographic to other projects. And I think, and that's for everybody. Like Greg Gilbert with Python's Paradise, he has his own demographic where people listen to, will find out about people from his show and all that as well. And that's the good thing about podcasts. Anybody can do them. There's millions of them out there, but everybody has their own demographic and their own viewership and their own listenership. And, the more interviews you do, the more you get out there. And I think that's what's great about, podcasting in general.
Absolutely. It's something I've thought about doing. It seems like a really large undertaking in my mind, but it's, I learn a lot from who I watch. The podcast, like yourself, I watched you and I learned from that. And I've watched people like James Janice and Dr. Wolfield. Like, those are the people that you learn from, and that's really inspiring.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been doing this since 2016. I most recently found my niche on how to really do and conduct a proper interview, I would say within the past 2 years. So probably since COVID started.
What better time to hone your craft?
I know, right? Because all my interviews were over the phone. I'd be sitting there with this very shitty microphone, holding the phone to the microphone for an hour, for a half hour to an hour, however long the interview is, and just be sitting there, my arms hurting me.
Yep.
And then I'm like, you know what? COVID hit. Let's do freaking Zoom. We're in the 21st century.
Way better idea.
Yes, we're in the 21st century. Let's do Zoom. Oh my gosh. So, what is your favorite type of like topic to write for in the horror genre? Do you prefer doing interviews? Do you prefer doing articles, movie reviews? What do you prefer doing?
Honestly, man, it is and always will be novels and screenplays. Always. Nice. That's where it got started. When I was 12, I discovered Goosebumps. And like, that's kind of like what did it for me. And obviously moved on from that to Stephen King. And I mean, I know that's a cliche, but I mean, it's a cliche for a reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's just so incredible to see something like that. But like, I do things. I mean, like, okay, let me put it in perspective for you. I fell in love with Stephen King's work so much. My youngest child's middle name is King for a reason.
Nice.
I mean, people like that. I mean, it's just incredible. And I'm really discovering more of like indie horror literature. I'm reading this really great like slasher book right now called Clown in a Cornfield, and it's just like freaking amazing. But always going to be novels, and it's always going to be screenplays for sure.
Nice. Yeah. When you think of horror, you think of Edgar Allan Poe and all that, but there's the godfather of horror of Stephen King, and he was my inspiration as well. Like, he really is great between it and Pet Sematary, Children of the Corn. Cujo. He's a freaking genius. The Shining. I can go on and
Absolutely. I mean, for me, like my favorite book of his that I've read is probably The Dead Zone. And I don't hear people talk about that one as much, but I freaking love The Dead Zone. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's really good. Really good.
And I'm currently reading his book Doomakey, which is really good so far too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen
fantastic.
King, he really is like the godfather of horror,
Right,
writing. Like he really is. He's great at what he does. And
right.
the one thing I always thought with Stephen King, you might disagree. I don't know. A lot of people I've seen say the same thing as with Stephen King. Like he's great at writing. His books are great. They start great. The middle is amazing. It's like, oh my god, what the hell? And then he ends it so shitty.
Now, oftentimes that does happen. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it doesn't happen with his stories because it does.
Yeah.
Like you've got ones that end really well, like Pet Cemetery. That whole
Yeah.
book is perfection.
Yeah.
But like I felt like things like, and I think I see it more prominently in his short stories.
Yeah.
And but like Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. A lot of them end so poorly. Even the Dead Zone ended
Yeah.
poorly, and it's my favorite book of his.
Right. Yep, I agree. And I think that when they do his movies, that they don't do them justice, because I think they shy away from
Never.
the actual intent of the novel. Like
Absolutely.
it is a big one, I believe, right? It's The Shining.
Very.
The Shining is another one that they didn't do justice.
Right. I mean, even by King's own admission, I mean, he
Yeah.
despises Stanley Kubrick's version of that film.
Yeah.
And then to have him in the 90s go back and rewrite the script and have Mick Garris directing it. Now, that to me seems like an amazing idea because I love Mick Garris, but
Mhm.
like at the same time, that movie was also garbage. But like it, but I mean, he has his moments. Like you got the '91 It with Tim Curry,
Yep.
iconic as Pennywise. Love the whole cast in that movie,
Yeah.
The Losers Club, particularly with like Tim Reed
Yeah.
in the role as but like it. I think even in the 2017 or whatever the dates were for the two-part with Bill
Mhm.
Skarsgård. I like that they got a lot more in from that
Mhm.
really huge novel,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I think a lot of it was missing the heart of that novel because at the root of that whole
Mhm.
story, it's a story about friendship.
Yeah.
It's it's Stand By
Yeah.
Me with a killer clown. I mean,
Right. Exactly. And from my remembrance, he wasn't always a killer clown either. I don't think they really
no,
incorporated that in the 2017 20, the
yeah,
part one and
he
two.
took many forms.
Yeah,
He's,
and from my understanding, from what I remember, it's been a while since I've seen it, but the 1990 film, or whatever it was, of it, like he had the many forms, whereas he didn't have that in the recent versions of it, which kind of lacked that.
right. Like, I mean, they tried to do it a little bit. Like in the original film in the
Hmm.
90s, they didn't do the scene where Pennywise took the form of a leper.
Right.
But they did that in the 2017 and they did that scene well, but then they cut out
Yeah.
a lot of other things that I was really excited to see. So
Yeah.
who knows? And then now like the whole book is getting a TV series.
Yeah.
So I'm excited because I think because of it being a series, they'll
Yeah.
have more time allotted to them to thoroughly
Yeah.
do that justice for sure.
Right. And I mean, like we mentioned, it is a huge ass book. I mean, exaggeration wise, it's probably 600 pages.
No, realistically, dude, I think it's about 1,190
Really?
something page. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. It's been a while since I read it, but it's a huge ass book. Huge
It's
ass book.
enormous, man.
Yeah. So the fact that they didn't get that, I mean, the series I think will do it better, a little better of just,
Right.
more justice with it. It can get more information in, especially if they're hour-long episodes and they have season one, which might be like 10 episodes. Right there's,
Yeah,
10 hours of content right there, and minus commercials, of course.
exactly. Exactly. So I mean, I'm looking forward to that more than I am the
Yeah.
Skarsgård movies. Not to knock Skarsgård's performance because I think
Right.
he definitely brought that psychotic side of the
Yeah.
character out. But yeah, for sure, I'm
Yeah.
excited about the series for sure.
Definitely. And the same thing with the movie. With the movie, it can only be what, like between an hour and a half and 3 hours max. Because not many people want to sit
Yeah,
in a movie theater even for 3 hours to watch a movie. So
I don't care
like,
how devoted you are to the character and the story.
right, right. But with like, the TV series, 1 hour each week for 10 weeks,
Right,
that's
right.
with commercials taking out about 36 minutes. I mean, you still get 36 times 10 and you got a crap ton of time left.
exactly. And what makes that exciting is it gives me something to look forward to on a
Mhm.
weekly basis.
That's how I am with the
Some
Chucky
extent, yeah.
series. I love the Chucky series.
Yeah, yes. I'm loving Brad
Yeah.
Dourif in that, and I love that
Yeah.
Fiona Dourif is playing Charles Lee Ray. I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it really is. It's really good. And if you didn't know, the flashback scenes of Charles Lee Ray is actually Fiona Dourif in makeup.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, I do. And
amazing.
I think it's incredible because I have never seen someone's child look so much like their father in my
Oh my
life.
God, I know. That was especially a daughter, and that was really good.
Right.
That
Right.
and
I
they
think she
yeah.
nailed it.
She does. She does. Now I understand that they voiced him over, his voiceover for it, but
Sure.
but I mean, she's not going to sound like him, obviously, but she looks spot on. Spot
Yeah,
on.
there's no way for someone to be like, man, that's not really Brad Dourif. It's pretty darn close though.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. So do you have a specific style or research or way that you write your articles?
I think a lot of it, honestly, man, comes from if it's something that I'm choosing to write about. Like
Hmm.
like a lot of times with Morbidly Beautiful, I could choose what I want to write about.
Yeah.
So like if it's a subject I'm super passionate about and I
Hmm.
already am thoroughly knowledgeable, then I've got a good core of what it is. I'll do research like on certain things, like
Hmm.
pinpoint certain details.
Right.
Um, like a big thing is that I really want to do a piece on a band called Ice Nine Kills,
Okay.
and they're a metalcore band from Massachusetts, and they've been around like 20 years,
Hmm.
but they hit their biggest stride in 2018 when they released an
Nice.
album of songs, each song
Nice.
based on a different horror film, and the album is called The Silver Screen.
Nice.
And it was just this incredible album. And last year they released Welcome to Horrorwood, The Silver Screen Part
Nice.
2. And it's incredible. And it's a band that I think more horror fans need to be aware of because I saw them
Hmm.
last November and they changed their wardrobe with
Yeah.
each song to coincide with the movie they're singing about. And
Nice.
it was just a fun atmosphere. So things like that, I'll do certain research. Typically, it's the front man Spencer Charnas that does a lot of the
Hmm.
publicity. I mean, it would be amazing. Like he's on my
Yeah.
bucket list to interview,
Nice.
but to pick his brain. But as far as research goes, if it's something like I'm assigned and I'm choosing to do it that way,
Hmm.
then I'm definitely going to do more research. But I'll typically write down my core basics of something,
Hmm.
then develop my opinion off on each piece of that,
Hmm.
and then see where I'm at afterwards. Sometimes, like if it's a movie that I've never seen or haven't seen in a long time, then I'm gonna watch it, take notes
Okay.
while I'm watching it, and then after I make the notes, wait a day or two and rewatch the movie again
Nice.
without taking notes because that
Okay.
keeps me fresh. It keeps me in that moment, and then I
Okay.
can sit down and hammer it out. But yeah, that's my process when it comes to writing articles.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. So, which horror film or franchise got you start into becoming a horror fan? And what is your current favorite horror film and franchise?
Yeah, so for me, it is and always will be my favorite franchise, and that's Halloween. Without a doubt,
Agreed.
it's going to be Halloween. It.
Agreed.
I'm a Michael Myers elitist.
Nice.
Um, I was
I don't think
12,
you are.
and
You're
he's
wearing a
just
Freddy
he's,
Krueger shirt.
because the Halloween one is in the washer right now. I couldn't wear it. Plus, man, it's like 98 degrees out here, and the shirt that I would choose to wear is purple, and I would sweat through that, and that wouldn't look good on camera.
Yeah, agreed.
So so yeah, I'm wearing my Dream Warrior shirt right now. Yeah,
Nice. Nice.
but
Yeah.
but no, like I was
Yeah.
12. My dad showed me an edited version of Halloween, and I was just glued to the screen, and because it was on TV, so I didn't get to see
Mhm.
PJ Souls topless or anything until much
Right.
later. But like it was amazing, but um, to see that movie because even at 12, I could understand what John Carpenter was trying to do with his
Mhm.
script and the character of the Shape. He,
Mhm.
I felt so unnerved, and like the ending when Loomis shoots him and then he looks over the balcony and he's gone and the music starts playing. I was like, as soon as the credits rolled, I was like,
Brilliant.
huh, I've got to like do this myself now, like forever. Like I got to be involved in this genre in some way.
Yeah.
So here we are now, 16 years later,
Yeah.
and still, but I think current. I don't know, man, because I think a lot of horror films today, I will see horror films weekly. My girlfriend and I have Shudder. We will watch
Mm-hmm.
5 horror films a week, and we pick them randomly, so it's more fun
Right.
for us, like going into
Yeah.
it blind. Um, and I'm liking exposing her genre more, so that's a lot of fun. But
Nice.
like
Yeah.
recently, I'm trying to think of a movie we saw recently was, I know it's kind of old school to say this now and like old, The Taking of Deborah Logan
Okay.
messed me up, and The Autopsy of Jane Doe. I didn't sleep
Nice.
that night after watching The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Nice.
So I mean things like that, and then like series, like horror series are
Yeah.
really big right now, doing really well, and
Mm-hmm.
like Chucky.
Yeah.
I think like the one that I was really enjoying was on Netflix, James Wan's Archive 81.
Okay.
Um, scared the hell out of me.
Nice.
And it takes a
Nice.
lot to scare me.
Yeah.
That show scared me. And then it gets
Mm-hmm.
canceled after the first season on a cliffhanger. So I'm like extremely upset.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, for sure.
Have you ever seen the Netflix series? Now, the first 3 seasons are on Netflix. The 4th season is on Shudder. Slasher.
Okay, so I've seen a little bit of Slasher, and I know that the new one is on Shudder now and things, but
Yeah.
I need to sit down and seriously watch the original,
Mhm.
particularly because there's an actor in the original that I really like, named Brandon J. McLaren, that
Okay.
I really love. He's a great Canadian actor, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, seeing things like that for sure um was really good. But it's on my bucket list. I actually added it to my Shutter list
Nice.
like 3 weeks ago, just so I could keep it
Nice.
fresh in my mind that it was on there.
Yeah, I love that series. I didn't really care for season 1. Now I watched it backwards. I went from the top to the bottom, and it turns out that was season 3 was at the top, and season 1 was the
Oh
3rd one in the
no.
list. I was like, damn, but they don't matter in because it's kind of like American Horror Story. Each season is about something
Yeah,
different and all
right.
that stuff. And it's like kind of like Scream because you don't know who the killer is. It's like Friday the 13th because
Yeah,
the deaths are so creative. But I
right.
loved the one on Shudder. That was that one and the second one with them in the winter in the like on the campground or whatever. Those 2 are my favorite.
Yeah. I really dug R.L. Stein's Fear Street series on
Nice.
Netflix too.
I haven't seen that
With
yet, believe it or not. I need to see that.
You need to, man. It's pretty good. A lot of people give it crap because like they're like, oh, the second part, the one that takes place at a camp, is like, oh, it just didn't do it for you. I'm like, freaking awesome. Like it was all fantastic. Like I loved
Yeah.
it. So I mean, definitely check it out, man. Love Fear
Yeah,
Street.
absolutely. I know yeah, oh, Slash is really good though. I love it. And I mean season 4, you can't go wrong with David Cronenberg being in it.
Oh, David Cronenberg's in it? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
Yes, he plays the patriarch of the family.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
God.
like you can't go wrong with freaking David Cronenberg.
Never, man. Never.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
I looked at him like I was expecting. Now this is how like I wasn't thinking like this series is like 2021, 2022 ish, and I'm
Hmm.
thinking, oh, I'm gonna see David Cronenberg from like Jason X days, but that's freaking 2002.
You got a 20-year gap there, man.
I know. I'm like, oh my god, he got old. How did he get so old? I'm like, oh wait, this is 20 years later.
All that body horror will do that to you over the
I
years,
know,
age you
right?
quickly.
Oh, but yeah, David Cronenberg being in it, it's beautiful. You definitely check that out. That one's on Shudder, the one he's in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
another godfather of horror right there. Like especially
Oh,
like the creature
100%.
horror, the body horror. Yeah, yeah,
The,
absolute
I mean,
genius.
The
Yeah,
Fly, I don't recommend that if you're new to this genre and never seen a
yeah,
horror movie in your life. Work your way up to The Fly.
yeah, yeah. The
And
Fly. Oh,
scanners and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Oh my god, I have a funny story about something similar. Not really similar, but I was I was kind of new to horror. I mean, I wasn't new to horror, but I was like I was getting back into it after years of not really watching it much. And
Right, right.
I was in like my first semester or so of college, and moved to this apartment, and all these like birds would like be like on my roof. And when I go out of my door to go down, they all at the same time swoosh over your head, and it's like, holy shit, what the hell is that? And so I told my college professor that, and he goes, go watch The Birds by with Alfred Hitchcock. And I'm like, I said, I think I'll do that. I didn't watch horror in a while. I guess I will. Let's just say I was terrified to go out of my apartment anymore.
That movie, I mean, for a movie, we're talking about maybe the 50s or 60s. So
yeah,
for a movie in typical Hitchcock fashion, is going to disturb you and make you have thoughts that you probably never thought you would have and wished you did.
oh yeah.
And the birds will definitely do that to you, just like Psycho would do it to you.
I was just gonna say the same thing about Psycho. To this day, when I'm in the shower, I'm still opening up my curtain, making sure nobody's coming out at me. To this day. Day, like it terrified me. Like just the thought of being killed in your shower, where you're the most vulnerable. You're naked, it's wet.
Exactly.
So, like,
you got nothing to grab onto. Like, I mean, and it's worse if you're the only person in your house.
Yeah,
then you're really paranoid.
Yes, that's usually when I do it. Absolutely.
Oh man, that's awful, man.
Oh, I know. It is. It to this day, it gets me. So the last question I do got for you is basically about you to promote anything, any projects, articles, social media accounts, websites, links to your Morbidly Beautiful page, anything else to the listening and the viewing audience.
Yeah. So right now, like I said earlier, we wrapped filming on the Sawyer Massacre. A prequel fan film to Toby Hooper and Kim Hinkle's original. And that's coming out in October. The world premiere is going to be out in Texas in August. Nice. But definitely go follow the Sawyer Massacre on Facebook, on Instagram, everything. Like it's truly amazing. And Steve Merlo is one hell of a talented writer and director. And our Leatherface, Scotty Parkin, who I roomed with for 16 days. I was living with Leatherface. Nice. Jolliest, happy person you'd ever meet in your life until he puts that mask on. But definitely go check it out for sure. I'm going to be working on a fan film sequel to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Okay, the third channel?
The third channel, Michelle Blasky's film. Wonderful person. She's just this incredible delight, and to be able to be a part of a Halloween film in any capacity is a dream for me.
Nice.
But doing that, then if you want to check out my stuff on Morbidly Beautiful, absolutely look me up under Cody Willis, morbidlybeautiful.com. Awesome. Social media wise, I don't have anything strictly for my own writing yet. I keep being told I should, but I haven't yet. But you can find me on Facebook at Cody Willis, and on Instagram at Willister94. And I'll be doing some more stuff for Morbidly Beautiful. I've got a couple articles lined up that I'm working on now, interviews, everything. And thank you guys for listening, checking out my stuff, and I really appreciate the support.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan. Well, thank you so much, Cody, for taking time out this evening to do the interview.
Totally, Scotty. Right. Thank you, man.
Not a problem. You have a great rest of your night.
You too, man.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.